Hello BookTube. For this Tag Tuesday, I will be doing the 27 Club book tag. This tag was created by Celeste of Bookbound Weirdo, and I saw it on Greg of Another Bibliophile Read. So I'll leave links to both channels in the show notes down below, as well as a copy of the prompts and mentions of the books I talk about in this video. So the 27 Club tag is based on, I guess, a list of celebrities who died at the age of 27. And Greg's video has a little bit about that, and I'm assuming Celeste's video will as well. So let's get on with the prompts, and I will mention whether or not I actually have heard of or listened to any of the inspirers of the prompts. So prompt number 1, Robert Johnson, who I have never heard of. A book or character that started it all. So I'm assuming he must be the first person to have died at 27 who was a celebrity or something. Anyway, so for this prompt, I'm going to go with A Big Wonderful Thing by Stephen Harrigan. So this is not the first work of history I've ever read, but this is the work of history that started my love of history that has changed my reading life the last few years. So before 2020 and Big Wonderful Thing, my nonfiction collection was, I want to say, a shelf on a bookcase, not the entire bookcase, but just one shelf. Since Big Wonderful Thing, while I still have a very paltry nonfiction collection that's not history, but my history, that one shelf, is now pretty much a wall of nothing but history. And this is the book that started it all. And it's A Wonderful History of Texas, too. Prompt number 2, Janis Joplin. I've listened to some of her music. A book that celebrates the beauty of imperfection. So for this, I'm going to go with Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. It's a classic of children's lit. It's about a young girl who follows a rabbit down a rabbit hole and finds herself in a weird land ruled by the King and Queen of Hearts. I'm not entirely sure if this really works, but I'm going to go with it, and I think I will try this for my second attempt at Victober this year. So far, my Victober has not gone well at all, but that's for weekly reads. Prompt number 3, Jimi Hendrix. I love All Along the Watchtower, a book that never reads the same twice. So for this, I'm going to go with SPQR, A History of Rome by Mary Beard. So this is a history of Rome from Rome's beginnings to the early 3rd century when the Emperor Caracalla extended Roman citizenship to the majority of those living in the Roman Empire. So I've read this book 3 times. The first time was practically a bail. I didn't really get on with it. The second time, I liked it quite a bit. And this third time, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was spectacular. And it really, like on my third rereading, it was just, there was something different about the book compared to the second time I read it. And that was really amazing. Prompt number 4, Jim Morrison. I think there are a few songs from The Doors that I quite like. And of course, he's also mentioned in Gods and Monsters by Lana Del Rey. A book that explores the themes of death and rebirth. For this, I'm going to go with The City of Lost Fortunes by Bryan Camp. This is an urban fantasy novel set in post-Katrina New Orleans. It's about a young demigod named Jude Dubuisson who makes a living finding things. Until one day he is invited to play a game of fortunes with some gods. And this game and the subsequent murder of the fortune god of New Orleans leads him to investigate what happened, who these gods are, what their agenda is, and ultimately results in his death and rebirth. And it is a fantastic read. Prompt number 5, Amy Winehouse. I know of her, but I've never actually listened to anything by her. A book or character that deserves a huge apology from everyone. For this, I'm going to go with Wasp by Richard Jones. This is a book about wasps who are a maligned group of Hymenoptera, the same order of insects that includes bees. Wasps have a undeserved negative reputation, and this book does quite a bit of exploring that and arguing that wasps really don't deserve that reputation. I'm not entirely sure. I'll put you over here. Prompt number 6, Bryan Jones. I have no idea who he is. A book that is surrounded by conspiracy theories. For this, I'm going to go with Holy Madness by Adam Zamoyski. So this is a history of between the French Revolution, or the lead up to the French Revolution, and the end of the Franco-Prussian War. And a lot of what Zamoyski looks at during this history are the rise of conspiracies, of various romantic revolutionaries who seek to overthrow the various monarchies in Europe, or to rebel against the empires to try to free sort of the early nationalism. So it's a lot about this kind of romantic conspiratorial underground for the most part, and it's really interesting. Prompt number 7, Alan Wilson. I have no idea who he is. A book that contributed to the popularization of its genre. So this book could have gone at the number 1 spot as well. And that is The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is the book that made fantasy. It basically, most of what is contemporary fantasy is inspired by Tolkien and The Lord of the Rings. And it's about a group of hobbits and allies who have to take a magical ring to the mountain it was forged in and cast it into its fiery depths to defeat an evil overlord. Prompt number 8, Peter Ham. Don't know him either. A book that challenges the notion of loyalty. So for this, I'm going to go with Our First Civil War by H.W. Brands. So this is a history of the American Revolution that looks at the conflict as a civil war between those American colonists who wanted independence from Britain and those colonists who did not, who were loyal to the crown and who wished to remain part of the British Empire. And finally, prompt number 9, Kurt Cobain. A book that could pass for a humble old sweater, but is a total legend. So I've heard some of Nirvana's songs. I think I've listened to like 2 or 3. And I think Come As You Are I quite like. So for this prompt, I'm going to go with the Conan stories by Robert E. Howard. In a way, I think pulp literature is kind of the humble old sweater. But at the end of the day, Conan has managed to become a cultural icon. So I think the Conan stories really work here. So I'll go with that. And also, Sumerian September just finished up. So it's a bit of a late for that. So anyway. And of course, prompt number 10 is tag some people. So if you'd like to do this tag, consider yourselves tagged. I will be back tomorrow with a new video. So until then, BookTube, thank you. Have a great afternoon and stay safe.